I'm showing up as a investor for the last 30 years, also consulting for as many years, coaching businesses for the last 15 years. And I started a mentoring program 5 years ago to be able to connect with leaders and trusted advisors and be able to build a community that we should do actually more for others. And what's interesting is the more we do for others, at least my experience has been, the happier I am or the more successful I am. And I came up with what I think is a really great appropriate rule for myself, the 60-40 rule. The 60-40 rule is actually do 60% for others and 40% for ourselves, as opposed to 50-50, which is more like a transaction. And as opposed to 100% Mother Teresa to zero. So I think that's a different perspective, but I think 60-40 makes a lot of sense in terms of personal relationships, in terms of business as well. If you take the 20-80 rule and actually break it down a little further to 20-60-20 rule, 20% actually does matter. Very important. Then there's that 60% that is in transition or formulating or having some meaning. And then there's the bottom 20% that absolutely doesn't matter. And we don't know where that is until we step in. And I'm taking that rule because I really like that 80-20 rule, 20-80 rule, and break it down to 20-60-20. I'm finding that that's a good guideline for showing up in the world, to be able to comprehend. And so whether he picks 90% or so, we're close enough. But I'm thinking that 20% actually does matter. Now, what is that 20%? We don't know until we step in and have a dialogue and be able to test it out, be able to design, be able to align, as he talked about, have an alignment to who we are and aligning with our mission, vision, and purpose. And so and the other 60% is in transition. And I find that that's an interesting rule that applies for a lot of things. It's kind of like the average. It's trying to formulate itself. And if we're talking about ideas, I love ideas because I don't know which idea is going to resonate at the right time, at the right moment. And when I show up, I'm thinking that I bring my full self, 100% to the situation, but it's only 20% of what I've learned that really applies. And I'm not sure what that might be. And there's the rest of it that's there, 60%. And then there's 20% that doesn't apply at all, maybe totally out of context. Or at some point, I may have an old belief that could be replaced. So I'm okay with that as well, too. So I think that applies more to me. And if we're talking with our clients, as he's started to explain a little bit more, it's listen more and be able to help them align with where they're heading, their purpose. And so that may be a lot of fluff that he's talking about until we get to the critical top 20%. And I think that's our obligation as both a guide, a Sherpa, or clearing the path, as he's talking about. I think we show up in multiple ways with multiple identities. Well, honesty is confused with truth. Now, honesty is one of the things that I could firmly believe, like I shared my 60-40 rule. I'm thinking that's the way to go. And that's my honest opinion. Now, others may say, well, it should be 100-0, or it should be 20-80, or it should be some other thing. That's their honesty. But that's different than truth. Truth is fact-based. It's tested. And that's a lot different. Whereas my 60-40 is not tested. It's my thumb. I made this up. This is an opinion. And so I put it out there and I've worked it and I'm testing it myself. I'm thinking, no, this is a great attitude, great way to show up in the world. but it's not tested. It's not truth. I'm not telling you truth, but it's true for me. So I'm being very honest. So I think that confuses it. And when you label something brutal honesty, there's nothing brutal honesty, or it's soft honesty, or it's kind honesty, or it's either honest or it's not. It's either the person that expresses that opinion, they're feeling, I think it's more integrated. They're integral. They're aligned with their beliefs. That's honest to them. But that's different than truth. That the truth could be, for instance, I was listening to flat earthers. Those are people that believe in flat earth. And for them, it's truth that the world is flat. And they, of course, they obfuscate or they ignore anything to the opposites, that proof that's shown out there. But that's their honesty, but it's not true. They're just getting a portion of the business, which I think that's a great way for us to model that, to be able to look for that and be able to be open to that with clients that perhaps don't have the money. The ones that really are open for that are the ones that are startups, the ones that are don't have any money but have great ideas and are willing to provide a certain amount of stocks or options and trade for that. Now, the key with that, of course, is if they succeed, you make a lot of money. If they don't succeed, you don't. So the key there is also to have a multiple stable of clients to be able to grow. In other words, it's kind of like investing. You're investing in a company and getting a portion of the share, but instead of outright giving money, you're giving talent or time. When you say, I don't know, we're always talking to our subconscious. That's our conscious talking to our subconscious. If you continuously say that to a client and to yourself, your subconscious, that implants a I don't know and I don't care and I'm never going to find out. And so thinking about that, I would add, I don't know yet, because that's a critical aspect. That opens it up for a subconscious, for us to be curious, to be able to explore it. That yet word means that there's anticipation. Now, we may not know specifically about how jet engines go off in space, how the universe works. I don't know yet is much better for me and my subconscious to go further than just stopping at I don't know.